Hello, welcome to another video. This video is all about the Castilla map in wotb, which is the most annoying map in the game in my opinion. Don't take it for granted, but you can think all you want. But first, ladies and gentlemen, we have our favorite show on YouTube, and that is... Where is the leopard? You have 20 seconds to find this leopard. Hint, it's in this screenshot. Time's up. The leopard was over here. Thank you for watching this episode, and make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of Where is the Leopard? This show does not exceed a budget of 69 gold. For future reference, I'll be naming these two spawn points as spawn point number 1 and spawn point number 2. Looking at the A point first, and taking a look at the A point from the perspective of spawn point 1, you will immediately see the hill with the road in the far corner over there, and the main course you want to take in this A point direction is to go up to the hill and go around the buildings. You won't be able to see much of this route in this picture, but I'll pull up another one, and this picture shows you how there's a road around the buildings, and this is a really good position, especially for early game, and it can really prevent anyone from trying to take the hill. I really don't recommend going around from the right side because it is exposed to tank destroyer locations as well as from the heavy flank, and so if there are no heavy tanks on your team that didn't go to the heavy flank, then the heavy tanks from C and the enemy team can put shots into you, and you very well know how high explosive shells react to medium tanks and light tanks. And with the A point on the far side, there's a road you can see. It is also a good spot for heavy tanks to side scrape in. However, there are tank destroyer locations to the back of the map where the spawn point 2 is, so I really do not recommend poking out too much, or else you will receive unnecessary damage and you will die quicker than expected. Now, looking at the perspective of spawn point 2, generally the same thing as spawn point 1. Do not go to the left side of the hill because it's too exposed. Trying to counter the right side, the path that goes around the buildings, you can hold down. There's a hill that separates the road and the main path that goes towards the top of the hill, and you can just hold down there and counter any tanks that try to go there. The road that goes to the background towards the windmill you see is actually advantageous to this position because you can hold down. You don't notice here, but the road is actually on a slope, a slight slope, and if you position your tank correctly, then the enemy will only be able to see the upper glacis, the upper part of the tank, and not be able to really shoot any weak spots. If you're in a heavy tank, this is a perfectly viable option. So say like a Tu-110E5 or AMX-50B would be ideal in that position. And let's talk about how you should treat the position after you take it. Once you win, there are two main sniping points. One is both are which next to the church. There are bushes, and this of course improves concealment. However, I feel that most people know that they are, being sniped from there, so they would try to, or attempt to at least blind shot the bush. So I do recommend moving around once in a while after you shoot, so that you wouldn't get damaged from that. And this is also a reference: if you are getting shot from those bushes, then you could try to blind fire them, and hopefully you can get some free damage. Moving on to the B point. At first glance, you see that the B point is well protected by surrounding buildings, and this kind of compensates for its centralized position and allows you to deal damage from there without actually being hit that often from all angles. And this is a really important position in a game if most of the team decides to go point B or C. I'm talking about the enemy team. So the reason why is, if you go from spawn point 2 and go to this position in this screenshot right here, you can take shots into C, and this spot is far enough away that your tank will not be spotted by heavy tanks, because heavy tanks are known for their relative short visibility range, so they won't be able to spot you if you're in a tank destroyer, which I recommend that you should be here. You should be in this position in a tank destroyer, because you can deal high damage towards the heavy tanks and put them out of action gradually. And I really think if you are in either a TD or a very accurate medium tank, such as the Leopard or the E50M, I really don't know any other accurate tanks, you can very much whittle down those heavy tanks, and your spotting range allows you to spot them incoming to C, so that's a double win for you. There is a position to counter that on the enemy team. So there is this hill on spawn point 1 you have to climb. Everyone knows where this is. At least one person will climb it per battle in this map, and you have to go over the hill and then across the river to get to this position here. And this position is also quite nice. You can go right from where you see the Leopard, and you can look at C. However, this is not as good as the position from spawn point 2, because there's a hill covering most of the C point, and if heavy tanks are on the hill, you can't see them, and that's kind of a problem. If you go left, that provides a bush for you to spot, and you won't be spotted in return. And anyone who's at the position that I mentioned earlier, then you can easily shoot them back and possibly not even get spotted. So it's a very effective counter to that position from spawn point 2 for the B point. The main point is that generally whoever gets control of the B point gets the C point. That is the general mindset here. This is because of that main, the centralized point. And you can also shoot onto A point, especially the one, the higher, the top of the mountain. When the mediums have taken that flank, you can go and face it. However, I really don't recommend it because you don't have a height advantage. I don't really recommend engaging them with such an angle. However, it is something you can do if you are doing some desperate measures. Finally, let's talk about the C point. C point is known as the heavy flank, where the heavy tanks go. And once you spawn, if you're a tank destroyer, there is a location with 2 bushes, which are commonly used by tank destroyers, and I find that I often get blindshotted when I go to this spot. It is very exposed, so it is not recommended for lightly armored tank destroyers to go here. I'd rather go here in a heavily armored tank destroyer, such as the Jagdpanzer E100, or say the Object 268 or the Object 263, so on. And you know, I already stated my reason for this, and especially for tanks that don't have much camo, this position is really not recommended. However, you can get really nice angles on the medium flank from here, and you can lay down some support for the medium flank on the top of the hill. However, there is another position that you can take. It is on top of this hill that you can climb from spawn point 2, and this hill is only climbable by a select amount of tanks. And once you get to this position, it's hard for you to get spotted because there is a bush. However, be careful with your shots because you can get blind shotted if someone else in the enemy team has a platoon and they are in voice chat. That's a perfectly viable situation there, and so make sure you move out of that spot every time you shoot, because that is to prevent unnecessary damage taken because they blind-shotted you. And this provides a general, line of sight to all directions, and this position is very good, but getting there is tedious, and I don't find that many people go there. And the final point here is the other side, the other team has their own sniping spot, and a lot of people use it. It's the hill I mentioned to get to the position on the B point from spawn point 1, and this position is very good because it's far enough away from the C point so that they don't spot you when you shoot. At the same time, it can also look at the medium flank. However, when the mediums come over to your side of the map, then you will definitely be spotted and will take damage. So if you feel that the medium flank will be lost by your team, then make sure you move quickly, or else you're gonna take some serious damage from either heavy tanks or the enemy tank destroyers that are just sitting behind the lines. Moving on to the early game points of the game. If you are in spawn point 1, you can rush to this point at C. It's a road that is kind of a bottleneck running into the central part where B is, or the capture point in encounter battles is. This position is recommended for fast heavy tanks such as the AMX-50B, or the IS-4 works, IS-7 works. You don't have to be mobile, you just have to cross a river in a straight line and then get to this position. And it's a very good flanking maneuver because, as you can see, there's a hill to the left of the screen, and any heavy tanks trying to climb up the hill to gain a position, maintain a position on over C, so they can shoot your allies, they won't be able to do that anymore because you are there, and the hill crest provides sufficient cover for you to do a hold down, and they won't be able to see your lower glacis plate, and that's very important. And I think that many people fail to realize that. There's also another position further back, which is a rock. I only recommend this for very heavy tanks, super heavy tanks like the Mouse or the VK100. because this is a very aggressive position that is centralized, that attracts all gunfire, and you need armor to be able to take those shots. And using a super heavy is basically something that is suitable for this job. And this position is also very important. There are really no aggressive positions early game like this on the other side of the map from spawn point 2, so I think that this is safe to say that spawn point 1 has a distinct advantage over C point than spawn point 2. When winning C point, there are 2 bushes that tank destroyers can relocate into, and this gives a general viewpoint along the top of the mountain close to where A is, and this is very important if mediums were still fighting. I recommend once C flank is finished off, that tank destroyers in their spots can relocate to this spot, and anyone who's coming from that road you see in the far back with the bridge, when they're coming towards C, you can totally pick them off one by one. And this position is alright. However, if the medium flank has been lost, then I suggest finding another place to go, or just staying on the same spot. That is also an option you can take. You notice that there are a lot of cliffs and bridges on this map.
Sometimes it's hard to resist the urge to drive right off a fucking bridge. Oh look, there's one. You're done for, get out!
And you should be careful of this. If you fall, you can easily take 300 damage plus, and this isn't good for your tank, obviously. Also, there's a lot of water. Make sure to keep away from water, because that provides an handicap to your tank's mobility and speed, and this is not good when you're trying to escape. So try to, if you're on the water, try to get out of the water as soon as possible. And yeah, that's all I have to say for today. Thank you for watching my video, and please give me some feedback down in the comments below. I care about you guys, of course, man. Love y'all, man. And I'll see you next time.